Hello my gorgeous makeup loving friends, I hope you're having a great day and a fabulous start to your weekend. My name is Teresa and I love all things makeup, beauty and skincare, so every weekend I like to hang out with you guys and discuss the new releases that we as a group decided were interesting. So I have to say a massive thank you to everyone who tagged me, DM'd me, etc. Your names are being displayed right now. Without you guys, there would be no episode, so thank you so much. And of course, a massive thank you to my YouTube community members. You're a rather fabulous bunch. I very much appreciate you. But my friends, there are quite a few new makeup releases to talk about, and you know the drill. We are best to do that with some sort of a beverage in hand. I'm not going to tell you what to drink. My beverage of choice is tea. You can have coffee. I do recommend a snack, however, so take what you need. But anyways, my gorgeous friends, let's get into it. The first thing that was announced that caught my attention was the Cosmetics Smoke Sessions 2 collection, and I did get tagged in this quite a bit, but nowhere near as much as I would have a couple of years ago. Like, they're definitely not as popular as they once were. They basically said when they were launching this that this was very highly requested because the Smoke Sessions 1 palette was incredibly popular. So it kind of makes sense that they've kind of added on to this. And I love that they didn't go with like a green palette. I know, can you believe it? I'm saying that, and I do love green, but I feel like the purple actually corresponds really nicely with this. I love purples and greens together. I just think they're really interesting. So as part of this, they have of course come out with the Smoke Sessions 2 palette for $48. There's two Metal Eyes shades and they're kind of duochrome. One is called Clockwork Purple and the other one is called Sour Grape. They're $26 each. There's two different gel liners. One is an ultra matte and then one is a reflect, and that's $22. There's the So High mascara. Now I had thought that maybe they'd make that purple, but no, that's apparently a black mascara. It's meant to give you ultra curl, and that's $24. And then all of the rest that they're coming out with is just general stuff. So I was kind of surprised to see that they have nail decal stickers. Like, they've never done anything naily before, which I thought was quite strange. There's also a neon crossbody sling bag, and then there's like a unisex long sleeve t-shirt. And if you want the whole collection together, it's $150. Let's talk about the eyeshadow palette first. So I have it on good authority that apparently the shimmers on this particular palette are a lot better than their previous shimmers, which I'll be honest with you lads, they really needed to do that, because I feel personally, and I have quite a few melt palettes just because I'm a ridiculous collector, but I do feel like for the price that you're paying for melt, it doesn't really correspond with what you're getting. Like, their mattes are fine. I do find you have to work with them quite a bit to get them to blend. If you're cool with spending the whole day with blending, that's grand. I'm not. I'm a lazy bitch. But I just personally found that the shimmers don't give a lot. And what frustrates me here is that all of these pictures that I have sourced are all from Melt's own website, and the most that I could find in terms of like what it would look like is just a picture of some shadows on the eye. And can I be horrible? I'm gonna be mean. There's nothing that wildly wow about this. Like, that's meant to be a $48 eyeshadow palette, and if I'm 100% honest, I know I could get like a cheaper brand that would give me the same sort of effect. Like, that doesn't really call to me. I feel like the level of depth isn't really there on this one, but it's hard to really tell because they don't have swatches. For whatever reason, they never put swatches of their products, like of their eyeshadow palettes, onto their website, and I cannot fathom that at all. I think that's really strange in this day and age to not do that. I like purple eyeshadows. They're a staple, let's be real. They always look gorgeous on brown eyes. I have blue eyes, so they don't kind of do as much for me. However, do I need this? Absolutely not. It's not my kind of jam at all. I do have a lot of purple palettes already within my collection that I feel would be much better quality and much more interesting. So for me, this definitely isn't the thing that I am interested in. However, let's talk about the stuff that I personally think are a little bit more interesting. So they have these Metal Eyes, and these are kind of duochrome, multi-chrome ones. I have to say, on initial inspection, I was like, okay, these aren't that interesting. And then the more I kind of looked at them, the more I was like, oh, actually, this is kind of interesting. Are they a little bit late to the game? Yes. I mean, everyone has done duochrome things, and it's taken them quite some some time to get to this point, but I do feel like their potted items, you know, whether they're liners or whatever, tends to be their more interesting things. But let's look at these on the eyes. So the one that I want to show you first is the Clockwork Purple. I mean, look at that. It's so metallic-y, chromy, gorgeous. I would 100% wear that as an eyeliner. Like, obviously you could wear it as like an eyeshadow as well, but I do think that that is genuinely very, very pretty. I'd love to know when they swatched this or showed this, was there like a black base underneath? Because if there isn't a black base underneath, my goodness, the fact that it's showing up that well, that is for sure intriguing to me. Then the other one that they have is Sour Grape. Now that's a little bit more kind of, yeah, we've seen that before, the blue to purple shift. I do think it's still beautiful, and I'd love to see that as like a liner, and obviously you could use it as that. So actually I think this is not a bad one at all. The other ones that I think are obviously very interesting to me are the eyeliners. So the neon-y green one is more of an ultra matte, and then the purple one, which is called Haze, has a reflect. So I want to show you the purple one first, and the reflect on it isn't like massive, but you can kind of see that they were hoping that people will get this to augment the looks from the eyeshadow palette, because this is giving you the level of depth that you might need to bring that out. And I have to say, I just really enjoy a purple liner. I do. I like the shade of that. Do I need it? No. But you know what? The parts of this collection that are the most interesting to me are actually the eyeliners and the metal eyes. I don't need them, but I think they're very, very pretty. I also think that that neon green, oh my god. Look, you guys know me. You know I love a green, and this is just, I love this. I do think it'll probably look a little bit weird on me because I'm very, very pale, but I also don't care if something looks really weird on me. If I like the color, I'm gonna wear it. That looks fantastic. And again, I feel like their eyeliners, those potted gel liners, are like the best thing that they do. They always get applauded for their eyeshadow palettes, but for me, their gel liners are like the things to actually discuss. So I definitely think about getting those. Apparently these are going to come to Beauty Bay. I'm going to have links down below. Anything with an asterisk is, by the way, an affiliate link, so you know, keep that in mind. Then the other things that they have are the mascaras and the nail decals. Mascaras, yeah, that's grand. They haven't really done a mascara since they did their Beetlejuice collection, and they kind of brought that back out again a couple of times, so it'll be interesting to see what the story is here. I'm personally not like a massive, I won't say like I'm not a fan of mascara, but I don't go like, oh my god, I must get this mascara, because I mean, I just have shit lashes. So I'm like, meh, it's all, you know, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It doesn't really matter. The nail decals I just find an interesting one because they've never actually done any sort of nail products before. So this feels like kind of like out of left field. It's like a very unusual addition to that. Now they're not expensive. They're $4.20 like as part of a pack. But I mean, it's just a little bit strange. Then obviously they have the extra bit. Now keep in mind that the bag and the t-shirt, they don't come as part of the bundle, but I do think they're quite cute. Like, I like the little bag. I think that is adorable. I don't know how much I could fit in there, but you know, because by the way, I don't travel light. I bring everything with me, but I do think that's really, really cute. And I appreciate the fact that they have outlined that this t-shirt is unisex. Like, I mean, yeah, t-shirts should be unisex in general, but still, I think it's quite interesting. So all in all, the collection, weirdly, you know, the eyeshadow palettes are normally put down as being like the big ticket items. Those are the thing that the collection hinges on. But for me, I don't find them wildly interesting here. They do have a bundle over on their website right now where you can get the Smoke Sessions 1 and the Smoke Sessions 2 palette together. So if you missed out on it before, or you had been thinking about getting it, you could get it with that if you were interested. And I think that's part of why they brought in that green liner, was to kind of mesh in the purple and the green together. So not a bad idea. Do I necessarily think I need this? No. I think there's very little makeup that I need. There's very little makeup that anyone needs. You know, we just need water and food, etc. Anything else is just like a want. And I am trying to not curb my enthusiasm, but I'm just trying to be a little bit more conscious about what I'm getting. And from this, although there's definitely things that I'm like, oh, that looks really, really pretty, and I wouldn't mind if they turned up, I don't think that I personally should go out and buy them, because I don't think it's a good idea for me. I wouldn't get the use out of them. But I think the one thing that I would definitely consider getting is that green gel eyeliner, because I legitimately don't have anything quite like that. So I can convince myself that that's the one thing that I need, by the way, in my collection. As I said, it's gonna come to Beauty Bay, so when it comes, I may end up picking up that. But I'm also the idiot that when I'm on Beauty Bay, I'm like, well, if I'm getting one thing, I might as well get several things. So not the best idea. But when I got it to you guys, it did do quite well. 49% of you loved the eyeshadow palette. 16% of you did agree with me and say that you needed to see some swatches. The gel liners also did incredibly well. 52% said that you loved it. The metallized duochrome eyeshadows did okay. Not as good as you would think. 37% said loved it, and 18% said that you needed to see some swatches. The mascara did okay. 29% love it. The t-shirt was a 7% love it. The neon crossbody bag was a 31% love it. And finally, the nail stickers were a 14% love it. So I think definitely they could have edited down this a little bit further. Then we have Charlotte Tilbury coming out with fragrances, and she said that this is her fragrance collection of emotions. And it's so funny because if you go over to the website, she's already like trying to sell it, and she's put down like 98% of people who wore this perfume said that they felt energized. 96% said that they felt happier, and I'm like, oh god, don't say this, like that's ridiculous. What are you even, right? Like, okay, I guess if you want to like try and put a scent to an emotion, fair enough, but like don't be trying to say like this is making people happier, energetic, etc. Like it's truly strange. They said that it's created and backed by science. Oh, I have so much to say about that. I mean, anyone who knows me, I have an MSc in behavioural science and I have a PhD, so I would be relatively au fait with science. I teach stats, etc. And I just going over to their website and then being like 98% said this, and then it's like a little asterisk and it's like tested over 1 week, and I'm like, I need more information than that. I need more information. Like, how are you even controlling for extraneous variables? Maybe they're just happy and energized that they've been given a free thing, and normally with these sort of studies you're given some sort of compensation. So like, have you even considered that may be the extraneous variable? Oh my god, it just hurts my stupid brain. But they have 6 cents. Oh my god, it's like Charlotte Tilbury is like taking a leaf from NARS, because the first one is called More Sex. Yeah, that's right, and it apparently has a musk leather scent. There's Love Frequency, a floral woody scent. Joyphoria, a warm floral scent. Magic Energy, a citrus woody scent. And Calm Bliss is an aquatic floral scent. And finally, Cosmic Power is an amber spicy scent. Now, I actually don't have any issue with the sound of the scents. Like, they sound potentially interesting to me, and I have to say that the bottles look kind of cute. They make me think of like an apothecary. Now, I have been reading through the Atlantis series recently because, you know, why not? Let's lose ourselves. So I am like currently in like 18th century France in my brain. So I'm like, yes, this is something I could find at Monsieur Raymond's shop. This makes sense to me. I think it's kind of cool. It is expensive. It's $150 for 100 mils. Now, Walt pointed out to me that that's kind of like a standard price for perfume, and I agree, right? If you go to like Marc Jacobs, you go to, God, I'm just struggling to think of any other ones, like Floral Scent, whatever, that would be the general price. But that's for like established perfumeries. Like, this is not an established perfume. Like, it's a lot to come out with 100 mils. I think it would have made more sense if they just came out with 50 ml bottles first to see what the story is. But they also have 10 mils. I love how it's like that jump between 10 mils and 100 mils. 10 mils for $25, which I suppose if you want to try it, that's the one to go. But they also have a discovery set, which honestly, strange, because it's almost like tester sizes, 1.5 mils for all 6 of them, and that's $30. I don't know, to me that just seems almost cheeky to be selling something that's maybe a little bit more than a tester in terms of size. Oh, I don't know. It's very strange. It's going to come to Charlotte Tilbury's own website on April 30th, but after that it's going to be available on other department stores, etc. from, I believe it's May 2nd. So just the day before my birthday. That's right, lads. I am getting older. It's a very exciting process. I am potentially interested. I don't tend to buy perfume without smelling it. I know some people have like a massive amount of confidence. I am extremely sensory based. So if a scent is like really not my thing at all, it tends to actually make me quite nauseated. Now that's not just like isolated to me. There's quite a few people who feel that way. So I know that there's a Charlotte Tilbury stand in Brown Thomas in Dublin. So I'd consider going there, but I don't know if I would necessarily shell out that much for a perfume like that. I don't know. I am interested though. However, when I put it to you guys, only 4% of you loved it, 59% said not for me, and 37% said, I want to smell them, which is fair. Now this is a much kind of like older release, but I still want to talk about it because I know I wasn't around last week, I was at a conference, blah, blah, blah. It all went very well. Thank you so much for asking. But during that time, Lethal Cosmetics released their Mellow Grove collection, and it is quite a curated one. So there's an eyeshadow palette, which is retailing for €49. There's 3 charged mascaras and they're €14.50 each, and then there's a brush cleaner for €9. So I want to talk about the eyeshadow palette first. I actually think it's very, very pretty. I like those sort of sagey tones in it, and I love the mixture between that sage, there's a bit of neutral, and then there's like pops of berry, and even that kind of corally pink I think is very, very pretty. Now a few people did very cleverly point out that this is kind of similar to the Odin's Eye palette that came out as part of a recent collaboration. I think was it Judy? I can't even remember. My brain is like falling away like wet pieces of cake. But I can actually see that. I can remember the palette. I don't think it's a dead on dupe, but I could see how you could maybe use the two palettes in conjunction with each other. When I saw this, I initially thought of the Natasha Denona Retro Glam palette. I personally really like that palette. I don't see a lot of people talking about it, but it has, I feel like, a lot more light shades in that. So this would probably give you the depth that you were missing from that, if that's the case. Now they do have one duochrome in there and you can kind of see it, but I feel like it's a very like bog standard duochrome that you would get quite a bit. Now this is a cheaper Lethal Cosmetics palette, or maybe it's just me. It's €49, and in my mind that's probably on the cheaper end of what they usually are. I think it looks really pretty, right? It's absolutely my kind of aesthetic. I love those sort of greens and berries together. That's my sort of jam. But there's a couple of shades kind of missing there to make it fully cohesive for me. And because I know I could dupe this with my current collection, it's not necessarily something that I will get. All of that being said though, I actually quite like Lethal Cosmetics. I think they're a very, very good brand, really solid. They're European. There's not that many European indie brands, and it's just really nice to see them doing well. I do think this is quite interesting. The other things that they have then, of course, are the 3 charged mascaras. They're not wildly expensive. They're €14.50 each, or you can bundle them for a reduced price. Now, I love a coloured mascara, but like, the thing is, I never get enough use out of them. I feel like if you're going to do them, you should probably do them as minis, because you need to obviously change your mascara every couple of months. I generally tend to change mine within about 2 to 3 months because A, I have very, very sensitive eyes, and B, I tend to just go through lashings of mascara very, very quickly. Now, is this necessarily new to the market? No, not really. I think they were pipped to the post by Glisten Cosmetics, and this was something that was pointed out to me by the fabulous Sue H. You've heard me talk about her before, and I'm inclined to agree. I don't think this is necessarily new. I think if they come out with this a couple of months ago, then maybe. It's grand. It's not bad. It's not wildly expensive. I think it's one of those ones that if I was getting something from Lethal and I needed to add on a little bit extra to get the free shipping, because that's right, I'm never going to pay for shipping, darn you, I'd probably pop that in. Probably. But all that being said, I'm really weird. I'll just go for like essentially those cake liners and just like put a spoolie into it and be like, screw it, that'll do. That's my liner. That's my mascara. The other thing that they have then is that brush cleaner. I love the little sort of animal face in there. I just assumed it's a cat, and that's what we're going to go with. I actually find those really, really useful. I actually have one here on my desk. I do use quite a bit. I do feel like €9 is quite expensive, and I'm like, is it because you've got the little cat shape in there that's what increased it? Because I know you can get it on the likes of like Amazon, etc., for like a couple of euros. So I don't really understand the rationale behind that, but like, it's not the worst. In all, I appreciate the fact that it's quite a pared down and edited collection. It isn't 5 million things in one. I do think it's very springy, which is a little bit confusing to me because we're coming into May. So I'm like, should you not have done this in February? So I'm wondering if maybe they were a little bit late on this. Did they mean to maybe release this a little bit earlier? I don't know. Who knows? It's not for me though. Well, it is and it isn't, in the sense that, like, if all of my makeup went in the morning, I'd probably think about getting this, but I have a whole bunch of stuff, so I definitely don't need this. It's very pretty, and I think if you do like the look of this, yeah, Lethal are a very good brand, so you'll probably enjoy the quality. But for me, I'm not getting it this time around. When I put it to you guys, the eyeshadow palette got a 31% love it. 6% of you are on a no buy. I hope that is going very well for you guys. The mascara did okay. 21% of you said that you loved it. 19% said that you were glad that it wasn't too expensive. And then 17% of you loved the brush cleaner, while 39% of you said that you loved the little cat face, which I agree with very, very strongly. It's kind of funny that e.l.f. have started to make a name for themselves in terms of like duping more well-known brands. Like, for instance, they came out with their Pout Clout lip pen, which is essentially sort of a dupe of the Tarte Maracuja. And part of why I find it funny is that they're a really good brand in and of themselves. Like, they don't need to dupe other brands to be good. That being said, I do think it's really, really great that there is a brand out there that gives you more affordable options, but without compromising on the actual quality. If you've watched online content for quite some time, you'll probably know that there was a point where the Drunk Elephant bronzing drops were weirdly popular and they were selling out like that. And more recently, Glow Recipe came out with their Niacinamide Hue Bronze drop. So it seems now that e.l.f. are getting in on this because they've come out with their own skin bronzing drops, and they say that it's essentially a skin serum tint. There's 3 shades, they're $12 each. It has vitamin E and sunflower seed oil. So the shades include Copper Gold, Rose Gold and Pure Gold. They do look quite pretty. I personally feel like maybe they needed to have maybe an extra deep one for like much deeper skin tones, but I mean, it's $12. It's not bad at all. I think it's really helpful that they've shown the before and after. This is definitely kind of duping the Glow Recipe one in particular, of kind of going towards the skin tinty thing. It isn't like a very, very obvious bronzer. It is just giving you a little bit of a glow. So by the way, if you don't want to glow, run away from this. This ain't your thing. It looks gorgeous on the models, but mind you, they always go for like fabulously beautiful models. They say that it bronzes and it nourishes the skin. There's an antioxidant rich tinted serum, and they say that you can mix with your moisturizer for a custom glow. So obviously more drops equals more glow. I personally don't mind the sound of this for somebody like me. Now, for reference, I have extremely dry skin, which is ironic because I am in Ireland and it rains constantly. So apparently my skin is making up for that for some reason. So anything that kind of like adds in a little bit of like nourishment or could potentially kind of give me slightly more of a dewy look, I'm like, okay, because at the moment I've layered on so much moisturizer, it's actually terrifying. But I personally like the sound of this. Now, I think that maybe if you've oilier or maybe more oily combo skin, this may be a little bit trickier. You may have to kind of finesse with it. Now, take what I'm saying with a pinch of salt. I am not a makeup artist. I am simply a makeup enthusiast. However, I think for $12, you kind of think to yourself, yeah, I'm more willing to maybe experiment with this than I would with things like Drunk Elephant, Glow Recipe, etc. By the time it gets over here though, it stops being $12. They'll probably sell it for about €16. I don't know, I'd kind of like to swatch it and see how well it actually blends out. Now, like I said, it looks fabulous on the models. It does look like it blends out quite well. And yes, it does bronze them, but it isn't like super streaky. I like the look of this, and it's coming into summer and I want to make it look like I'm not a corpse. That could be quite interesting. I like it. I think it's a really, really smart little addition for them. I think it'll go really, really well. Interestingly though, you guys aren't that into it. 20% of you loved it, 52% said not for me, and 28% said that you love an affordable option. Okay, so I'm going to need you to bear with me on this one because I'm going to go a little bit ranty on this. I did in my previous videos on this, you know, I do like some shorts, etc. But this is the collaboration, and I say collaboration so loosely, between SHEGLAM and Marilyn Monroe. And I said this before and I'll say it again and I will keep saying it until I go blue in the face. I just think that whenever whenever you're doing a collection that is based upon somebody who is no longer with us, it can be done in such poor taste and can really be done in such a way as to essentially disrespect the memory of that particular individual. I think if you look at the history of Marilyn Monroe, she really had like such a difficult time. She was kind of constantly objectified and used and wasn't really seen almost as a person within her own right. It was just that she was used for whatever she could give people. And this is almost like bringing this back again, and I just kind of, it gives me a little bit of the ick. So I personally find it quite sad. However, I do know that there are some big Marilyn Monroe fans, and you're probably looking at this kind of going, oh my god, I love it, which is totally fine. What's weird to me is that SHEGLAM over on their website have basically marketed this as though this is the makeup that she wore. Like, they're like, create Marilyn's look. And it's like, well, no, you couldn't create Marilyn's look because you don't have her makeup, or you don't have things that are like inspired by her makeup. It's not really clear where these inspirations came from. It's honestly very, very strange to me. And one of the things that I found really weird is that when this came out, they haven't really indicated that anything is going towards any sort of like mental health charity, etc. Now, the Fabulous Sue did point out that apparently upon Marilyn's death, her estate was given to the Strasbourg family, and apparently they've kind of sold on the rights to this, which I'm like, oh goodness, I personally don't love this. I will also say I put this over on my TikTok, and I nearly died when Erin Parsons, if you know, you know, actually A, commented on it, and B, actually shared my video in her stories. So I'm still a little bit like, oh my god, that happened. So please bear with me. Let's actually discuss what's in this. So there's the Daydreamer Face and Eye Palette for $12.99. The Icon Lipstick in the shade XOXO Marilyn for $6.99. There's the Colour Bloom Dewy Liquid Blush in the shade Hollywood. Now, what was very strange here was that initially when I went onto the website, and I think it's still the case as I'm filming right now, it was put down as being a liquid lipstick. And all through the description it was saying lipstick. But all the pictures were kind of like showing it as blush, so it was really weird. So I was like, I'll go based upon the text. So if you're kind of going, Tracy, you're saying something different than your previous video. Yes, I am, because now I have more information. They seem to have corrected it. This is their Dewy Liquid Blush, and to the best of my knowledge, they don't have a Dewy Liquid Blush already, so there you go. That's $5.99. They have a Poet's Lover Liquid Eyeliner for $4.99, and then they have two vintage lip jewels. One is Fear is Stupid, and then the other is So I Regrets for $6.99. You can get the whole collection together, and that will also include a face brush that isn't, it seems, available with the rest of the collection for $47.99. Okay, so let's actually start by talking about the eye and face palette. So there's 4 shadows up at the top that are eyeshadows. These are kind of expected shades. These actually do make an awful lot of sense when you look at Marilyn. They also have a pressed powder, which is oil controlling apparently, and then there's a gradient highlighter, which I think is quite unusual. I don't know, like it's an okay one. I just feel a bit uncomfortable with her face being on it, and it's like, she didn't consent to this, she didn't agree to it. There's just a lot of that just makes me personally feel a little bit uncomfortable. The swatches don't look like anything wildly interesting. I do feel like the 2 darker shades, Sensuality and Glamour, are a little bit too close to each other, particularly on the lighter skin tone. You can see a greater distinction on a deeper skin tone. So for me, I don't know, I think you need to get more of like a deep brown to really get some of the makeup looks that Marilyn actually did. She had that fabulous like come to bed eyes, and you really need a good brown shadow to be able to do that. The next thing is then the XOXO Marilyn lipstick, and I find that very strange that they've called it XOXO Marilyn. So it almost feels like she's signing off on it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know how you'd sign off a letter. So there's a part of me that just kind of goes, oh, that's quite strange. Now, it's a very orangey based red. I'd have probably thought that they'd go with more of a blue toned red, but hey ho, there you go, it is what it is. The component itself actually looks really pretty. It has this cute little polka dot thing going on, and they have some really nice sort of embossing on the actual lipstick itself. It does look pretty, like it's $6.99. It isn't bad at all. I have tried SHEGLAM in the past and I quite like their quality. I'm not going to get into the whole ethics of it. You guys know, I know, whatever. Let's not get into it. I do think it's just, it is interesting that they've shown it on the arm. I tried to find pictures of it on the lips, but there's so much SHEGLAM copyright over it that you can't see it properly, and I find it very hard to look at. so I'm not subjecting it to you guys. But you can even see when it's on the arm, it does look so different based upon the skin tones. So I wish they actually showed more clearly what it looked like on the lip. Then they have obviously the liquid blush, which is a dewy one. This is very pinky toned, and I kind of get why this is the shade that it is, like that little flush of color. I do think that this kind of makes sense. I don't know if I'd have necessarily gone with a dewy for Marilyn though. I think maybe she went more with like mattes because they would have powdered down things quite a bit at that time. I don't know, I'm not a Marilyn expert, but there you go. It's fine. It's fine. It's $5.99. It's not wildly expensive. The eyeliner then, I mean, it does look kind of cute, but Marilyn Monroe did not come to mind straight away. The first thing that came to my mind was actually Edgar Allan Poe, and particularly when it was like Poet Lover, I was like, ah yes, Edgar Allan Poe. I could practically see him like sitting down going, ah, the Raven, blah 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 blah. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. You kind of can't do a collection that's based on Marilyn and not include some sort of a liner, because she did do just the most beautiful liner, like stunning woman. But I don't know, like it's weird to me, and I wish they kind of explained it a little more, or maybe even said like, oh, you know, it's inspired by this, or it has this ingredient in it, or it's, I don't know, like, who did this? Who came up with this? Very, very strange. And then the lip duo kits. I don't understand why they've done this and also come out with a single lipstick. I think it was like, do one or the other. So one is much deeper and then the other one is a little bit lighter, and it comes with a lip liner and then this sort of like a lipstick case thing, which I think they're trying to be like, ah yes, so back at the time people would put their lipsticks into these things, which yeah, did happen. I don't know, it's a little bit too similar almost, particularly that red one, to the XOXO Marilyn. So I'm like, could you, is that all you think of, is just red lipstick with her? Which is like, okay, that's grand, fair enough, but like, she was more than that to many people. It's just not for me, and that's okay. It's totally fine. I don't think it's bad value, obviously. SHEGLAM are known for being on the cheaper side. I just kind of wish they hadn't done this. The funny thing is, if they came out with this collection and didn't put any face on it, I'd be like, yeah, this is grand. But because they've attributed it to Marilyn Monroe, who had the life that she had, and just seeing people still making money off of the back of her without her permission, just, I don't know, it grates on me. I just find it so incredibly sad. And if you disagree, that's totally fine. We can disagree. We don't have to get into an argument about it. It's just kind of poor taste for me. It's just where I feel on the whole thing. And it does seem that a lot of you guys thought that as well. When I showed it to you guys, 2% of you loved the eyeshadow palette, 31% said it wasn't an appropriate collab. When I showed you the lipstick, 20% loved it, 34% again said it wasn't an appropriate collab. When I showed you the liquid blush, 12% loved it, 33% again said it wasn't an appropriate collab. The liner got a 15% love it, and then the lip duos got a 19% love it. But in general, it kind of kept coming up of the idea of it not really being an appropriate collab. Then we have Beauty Bay, and I feel like outside of their eyeshadow palettes, nobody really talks about their stuff, and it's not because they're not good. Like, anything I have from Beauty Bay outside of eyeshadow palettes is actually very, very good quality. But it's just, I think it's very difficult when you have that one key item that's like so successful to kind of go beyond that. But they released this Make Face multi-use complexion palette the other day, and I haven't really seen that many people talk about it, and they normally hype up a lot of their stuff, like, you know when an eyeshadow palette is coming, like everyone is kind of like waiting and kind of going, oh my god, something is happening. But they didn't even hint with this. They're just like, here you go, it's here. There's 2 shades. There's fair to medium and tan to deep, and they're €22 each, and within that you get 11 pans of cream and there's 1 powder. So it's very much a cream based product, and within that you have your concealers, you have contours, you have bronzers, you have blushes, you have like a setting powder, you you have a whole bunch of things. Now, I personally do find it quite strange that they only came out with 2 shades. There's the fair to medium and the tan to deep. I kind of don't see why they didn't go deep to deep dark, because I think you could have maybe added in an extra bit on there. Like, why not? I feel like this is going to be fantastic for MUAs. Like, this is very, very affordable. It's €22. Beauty Bay, in terms of the quality, is always like really, really, really good. They've provided then information about exactly what's there. So within each palette, you have a color corrector, an under eye brightener, a concealer, a setting powder, a contour, blurring bronzer, a highlight, a matte blush, and a dewy blush. So there's a lot there. I think this is also really good for coming into the summer and potentially traveling, if that's what you're into. Now, do I think that this is necessarily going to suit all people? No, not really, but I can see where they could potentially expand on this and come out with several different types of fair to medium, several different types of medium to deep, add in a deep to dark, because I think there is room for it there. And particularly when I was looking at one of the models who was wearing this, I was like looking at her cheeks kind of going, oh my god, that highlighter, gorgeous. But I was like, is there even a highlighter in that? Yes, there is a highlighter in that, and I thought that there wasn't, but it's the shade Halo, and I'm like, oh my god, I would actually, like, can you give me that in a stick? I would wear that, like a green stick of that. That looks really interesting. I think they're a little bit late to this, because the likes of Made by Mitchell kind of came here way before. Like, even just, was it 2 or 3 weeks ago, they came out with a big curve case, and yes, this is a little bit cheaper, but it's like, if people wanted it, they probably already have it and they've got it through Made by Mitchell, so are they necessarily going to go with this one? I don't know. What I will say as well is, when you look at the fair one, the 2 shades of blush are very, very similar to each other in tone. Yes, I know that one is matte and the other one is dewy, but they still look very, very similar. At least with the deeper one, and I do still think they needed to have an extra palette of this, they have differentiated the blush shades there. Like, you can see that they are different tones. Yes, one is matte and the other one is dewy, but they do look quite different in the pan. So when it comes to the deeper one, again, I do feel like they've done okay for like the medium skin tones, but probably for the deeper skin tones, there probably isn't as much there. But if they do well on this, you could, like, I could see them maybe expanding on this and maybe adding some things in. I also think there's an opportunity here for them, and I hope that they take it on to maybe have some refills, yeah? Because I can see that there's going to be ones that are probably going to go pretty quickly or more quickly than others. So I think that they should look towards doing that as we go along, but I don't think it's a bad one. It just isn't for me. And I know a few people were kind of comparing these to existing things. So things like the Makeup Forever, I can definitely see the parallel there. When I saw these, I definitely thought of Anastasia Beverly Hills, but I also have this app on my computer. It's called Karma, and you can basically like save an item to be like, let me know when it's on sale, but it'll also tell you if that item is somewhere else cheaper. And it does that by like running the picture, and it ran the picture of the fairer one, was like, I can find you this somewhere else for cheaper. And I was like, how can you? And it was bringing me to Morphe, I was like, oh, burn. Like, it was so funny to me. But definitely there's stuff like this that have existed. I know I definitely had something like this from NYX years ago, and that's kind of what I find quite interesting about this. This is almost like a remnant of the past, and it just shows how cyclical makeup and beauty is, because I remember this early on in my makeup journey, and now we're coming back into it. Is it for me? No, not really. I have a lot of the singles that I need, but I can see a lot of MUAs getting potentially good use out of this. When I showed this to you guys, 20% of you loved the fairer one and 23% of you loved the deeper one, but most of you were saying that either, you know, it wasn't for you or you needed to see some reviews. Then the next thing that we have is the Blend Bunny collaboration with Ellis Atlantis, and they had us like wondering for ages who this collaboration was, because Blend Bunny was like, oh, I've, you know, didn't think I'd ever do a collaboration, but I'm doing it with this particular person and you guys will never guess. And they even had people like guessing over on their Instagram who it was. I guessed wrong. I guessed wrong. I still think that my guess should have been right, and I'm gonna stick with that. But this is the collaboration with Ellis, Atlantis, and ooh, like it looks pretty. This is the thing, I don't think it looks unattractive. It's a very, very pretty eyeshadow palette. The blush trios, the highlighter, the lashes, all very, very pretty, right? I have nothing wrong with any of these color combinations. I actually think they're very, very pretty. I don't even want to say issue. I hate saying this, but every time I look at this, I see other products. And I was not the only person to see this. I got so many DMs. I saw over on Reddit, etc., people comparing the eyeshadow palette to the Be Perfect Interstellar. And even the fact that it has this space theme, I'm like, what on earth? And this collab has been in the making for the last year. So the Interstellar has been out for over a year, so they already knew that that existed, and there's no way, if you're in the makeup community, that you don't know that Be Perfect exists. There's absolutely not a chance in hell. So I just find it very strange that it has such a comparison to that. It's very, very weird to me. I think the other kind of issue here is that if you look at the back catalogue of Blend Bunny, and they have some beautiful palettes, but if you look at, say, their Blend, their Surge, their Primal, even their Lure, there's a lot of these shades already. They've done a lot of rainbow palette, and I think it would have been much more beneficial for them to do a palette that was outside of the remit of a rainbow palette. I do think that where they were right in this palette was to have those kind of shades right in the middle that are almost like these shimmery toppers. Those were interesting, and I still contend that they should have maybe been a solo palette by themselves. This is going to be okay or pretty good for people who've never tried Blend Bunny before. This will be their first foray into the brand. If, however, you are like me and you've bought quite a few things from Blend Bunny over the years, you have their blends, you have their primal, you have the surge, you have the whole back catalogue. Honey, sweetie, sugar pie. You don't need this, because even though these may not be a direct dupe, I'm sure there's probably tonal differences. Once they're on the eye, very few people are actually going to see the difference. The other thing I'll say is, even if you don't have any Blend Bunny, but you have the Be Perfect, I mean, it would just be silly for you to get this and get that, unless your Be Perfect one is towards the end of its life and you've hit pan and you have always wanted to try Blend Bunny. Then that might be a really, really good chance for you to do that. They are retailing this for $66. So this is the biggest eyeshadow palette that they've ever done. And I had a few people, buttons included, pointing out that they've never really done any kind of smaller eyeshadow palettes. I think the smallest that they've done is maybe like a 16 pan, and that was like the neutral one. And I agree here in the sense that rather than going bigger, it'd be nicer if they had some really curated palettes. I was going to say that the smallest palette is actually, there's a little quad that they have of multi-chromes that I have. It's over there, it's staring at me. So I just find it, I don't know, it's very all over the place. Now, I don't know much about Ellis Atlantis. They seem to be a very, very talented content creator. They really know what they're doing. And they did say that this does blend very easily. My personal experience with Blend Bunny is that I like the formula. I just find that you have to be kind of careful with it in the sense that it's very, very pigmented. And if you smash all of it onto your eyelid in the one go, ooh, you're gonna be there for a while to blend it away, unless you're dipping into other shades to help you with that blending process, which if that's what you want to do, that's totally fine. But for me, it probably isn't my absolute favorite formula. I do enjoy it, but it's not like top 5. I would kind of prefer Be Perfect's formula if I'm 100% honest, but there you go, it is what it is. I do really enjoy Blend Bunny though, and I think the owner is very, very nice. Let's talk about those blush trios. I think that they are so, so beautiful. Absolutely stunning. The packaging on this, 20 out of 10. I think they did really, really well on this. They're $26 each, which isn't too bad. But again, the other thing that I have to say is that this does again remind me of existing products that have been on the market for quite some time. Because the first thing that I thought of was the Anastasia Beverly Hills trios. And there's 2 trios that do look very, very similar to these. these. And again, I find it very weird that they wouldn't know that or wouldn't see the parallel, because it's not like it's a random brand that nobody's ever heard of. Like ABH are a very established brand. Most people have a good idea of what they are, even if they're not into makeup. Like my husband knows Anastasia Beverly Hills and he knows very little about makeup. So I did find that very, very strange. I will say, like, the swatches look very, very pretty. If you have seen swatches by now, they are all from Deandra Nicole. She's fabulous. Love her stuff. But for me, I'm just like, this seems like stuff that I've seen before. It's a little bit strange. And even like the cheek highlighter, it does look very, very pretty. That's retailing for $16 US. That again reminds me, I mean, I'm just getting deja vu every time that I'm looking at this. There was a highlighter by Too Faced. Bear with me. I'll see if I can find it. Yeah, I found it. So this is the one from Too Faced. Now this is much more light in colour, but it's kind of giving the same thing. Like, it's a pink toned highlighter. It is like meant to be a cheek topper. And it kind of reminded me a little bit of that. All that being said though, this is at least a little bit more different. But this is not a new product. The Too Faced one is not a new product. That has been out for, I'd say, at least a year and a bit. The fact that every single part of this collab is something that I can equate with something else is quite strange to me. But maybe they've specifically gone for stuff that is like really well known, could be familiar to people, to like draw people in. I don't know. I think it is a great boon for Blend Bunny that she's got this sort of collaboration. Like, kudos to her. Fabulous. Well done. And it'll probably draw in a lot of people that have never tried Blend Bunny, in which case I think they'll really, really enjoy it. The quality is excellent. But like I said, if you're like me and you've tried their stuff before and you have all of their stuff, I feel like this is a bit underwhelming. It's stuff that we already have. Like, even when it comes to that highlighter, it's grand. It's probably the most interesting bit. But if I look at their Noctilucent highlighter palette, I'm like, oh, that's way more interesting. So I don't know. Then obviously the last thing to talk about then is the Starburst lash clusters, and they're $12 US. I mean, there's not much to say really about that. They're just like single lash clusters. They're pretty bog standard. I will say that the case that they come in, absolutely stunning. I would actually keep that and store stuff in it. I'm wondering if that's part of where that price came from, is just the building of that. For me, I don't want to say underwhelmed, but I feel almost relieved with this, because I'm like, I don't have to get this. I don't need this. I don't want this. I'm totally fine with skipping on this. I can dupe this, not only with my overall collection, but with a lot of my existing Blend Bunny things. So for me, it's easy to skip out on. However, if you're a big fan of Ellis, you'll probably absolutely love this. And as I said, Blend Bunny's quality is really, really good, so you will enjoy it. But it seems a lot of you guys were kind of on the same sort of benchmark with me. When I showed you the eyeshadow palette, 32% of you loved it, which is still high, but it's not as high as they would normally get. 25% of you loved the highlighter, 39% of you loved the blush trios, and 9% of you loved the lash clusters. To be fair guys, I did tell you that this was going to be a long one. We are now onto the Colourpop collaboration with Disney's Beauty and the Beast, and this is quite an edited collection. They definitely don't have as much as they would have done in the past. There's a shadow palette for $24. There's the special guest Super Shock highlighter for $15. There's two different pressed powder blushes in the shade Chip and Mrs. Potts. They're $14 each. They have two luxe lipstick kits. One is in Break the Spell and the other one is Great Adventure. They're $21 each. And there's the Enchanted Rose lip mask. And they have lots of different bundles depending upon what you want. But we'll just say that if you do want the entire collection, it is $99, and they are saying that that's $121 full value. So there's quite a few things. Can I just say though, the best thing about this collection is the packaging. The packaging is so well considered. It is so pretty. It's so dainty. I actually really, really like it. The products themselves I feel are decent. They're not bad at all. Colourpop is like quite good quality. Do I think it's anything revolutionary and is it going to change your life? Probably not. Although, is there any makeup that will do that? I mean, If there is, could you let me know? Let's start talking about the eyeshadow palette. Do you know what? I actually think this is quite an understandable colour story here. I do think it's really weird though. When I was looking at the shade down at the bottom right hand corner, it's called Dinner Invite. It looks really sparkly, and then weirdly the swatches, why does that look matte? What is going on there? I'm like, lads, are you digitally putting these on? Because that's very, very strange to me. They also, I think, said that the shade Book Lover is a duochrome, and based upon that swatch you really can't see much, except maybe on the darker arm you can kind of see a little bit of like a gold fleck, but it really isn't much. It is a cheaper palette, like it's affordable, but I don't feel like you're getting the best stuff out of it. I feel like the colour story in general isn't awful, but we always see this with Colourpop, the lack of depth. They do seem to like manufacture things with paler consumers in mind, and I just think that quite a pity. It's very pretty, like it's very, very nice. I do think they missed a little bit of a trick in not having more of like a yellow in there, like to really go in with her like, ball gown. Like, why not? I mean, I do have those swatches to look at, but I have so many trust issues with Colourpop over the years and their swatches that I'm like, is that actually what this is like? Who knows? I think it's very, very pretty. It's not a bad price at all. It just isn't for me, but I think they specifically went for like quite a safe colour story so that they could maximize their profits on this. This is not the first Beauty and the Beast collab that I've seen lately. I know rather recently Sigma did one, and then before that there was Mad Beauty. So you kind of have your pick of Beauty and the Beast collabs to go for if you are interested in that. They then have their Super Shock highlighter, and again the packaging on that absolutely gorgeous. Apparently part of why they have the marbled kind of effect there is it's meant to be like the meshing of Lumiere and Cogsworth, the best duo ever. Oh my god, the double entendres between the two of them, amazing. I do think it looks really pretty, however, and I said this before, I know I just repeat myself constantly, I do think that when you're doing a collection that's as big as this, or that is as wide-reaching as this, it just seems a bit like a foolish business decision, if nothing else, to only come out with one shade of a highlighter. You know, you're missing out on whole bunches of your demographic. Just doesn't make sense for profit, but also isn't very inclusive. It does look very pretty when it's swatched, let's be real. I think it would look quite nice on me. Do I need it? Absolutely not. They do say that there's apparently a little bit of a duochrome reflect in that, which is potentially quite interesting. It's not for me, like I said, but not bad at all. Then they have two powder blushes, and again, the packaging, shut up, adorable. I love the shade Chip because it's such an unusual kind of neutrally shade, and particularly coming into the summer, it's going to give you that sort of like a, I've been out in the sun, enjoying myself, being a healthy individual. I think that's quite interesting. I don't really understand the rationale for making like Mrs. Potts that very pale pink. I don't know. I'd love to know where that came from. It's very pretty. Again, that's not gonna suit a lot of people. Like, that's gonna look so ashy on certain skin tones. That's gonna look okay on me. I think like it would actually be a pretty nice color on me, but I just find it a bit strange to do that. It doesn't make a huge amount of sense. Then they have their two luxe lipstick sets, and I was informed by my friend Brianna that apparently, well, they used to put avocado oil in this, but they've actually changed it to something else. So if you are allergic to avocado, have a little look. It doesn't seem to be in this anymore, but don't take my word for it, do double check. So there's two different styles. The pinky toned one is for Belle, and then the more neutrally one is for the Beast. And again, I just love the package. Can I just have the box? I am now becoming a cat. I want the box. I don't want the things inside the box. I just want the box. It's very, very pretty. They've shown it obviously by themselves, the glosses by themselves, the lipsticks by themselves, and the lipstick in combination with the glosses, and I think they look very, very pretty. They've gone to an awful lot of trouble with like even embossing the lipsticks as well with the really cute little rose emblem. I think it looks so pretty. I like these. Again, I feel like these are probably the bits that are the most interesting to me. I kind of really like the pinky toned one, even though I don't think it would look great on me, but I'm looking at it kind of going, oh, it looks so beautiful. I would be such a pretty princess. I'd have thought though maybe Belle would have gone for more mauve than necessarily a pink. I don't know, that's just my interpretation of it, but there you go. I think that is quite pretty. If you want, you can get like a bundle of the two of them together and you can save a little bit of money Very, very pretty. Then the very last thing that they have is the Enchanted Lip Mask for $12. And oh my god, the packaging, I love it. I think it's so, so cute. Apparently it's rose, I think either scented or flavored. Either way, I'm there. They have a bunch of like different ingredients in it. This is the sort of thing that if I lived in America and could walk into an Ulta, because Ulta will stock like Colourpop, I would probably pick this up. Am I going to do a Colourpop order to get a lip mask? No. I have not lost my mind. If, however, this is still in stock, when eventually they do that Colourpop Pokemon collection that they have been hinting at, I would probably get this. And then I'd never throw away the packaging. That's a terrible idea. But I do think it's actually really, really cute. Not needed, but very, very cute. When I showed it to you guys, 10% of you loved the eyeshadow palette, 20% of you loved the highlighter, 18% of you loved the blushes, or 64% said that you like some of them. So actually the blushes seem to do pretty darn well. 20% of you loved the lip mask, 26% of you loved the Beast Lip Duo, and 24% of you loved Belle's lipstick kit. Now I'm going on to some things that I didn't get to show to you guys, but I just wanted to include them just for the lols. So this is Klarity Cosmetics, and this is their Oasis palette. It's available now. Apparently they had included it in like a mystery box at one point, and they've essentially brought it back now. It's €38.95. I am an affiliate with the brand, so you can use my code. It's Teresa, so just my name, TERESA, for some money off. Let's have a little chat about it. So there's 5 mattes in this and 5 foils, which I think is kind of interesting because for me, one of the things that Klarity does really, really well are like their more special shades, you know, the duochrome, the glittery, sparkly bits. And I kind of feel it's a bit unusual that they didn't do that. Now, they've done really well in that there's some really good levels of depth, and they have actually quite a nice light shade in there. I've often found historically that Klarity have a tendency to go mid to deep tone, which actually as a POC owned brand makes a huge amount of sense. They don't have to cater for us, that makes sense. I'm just being finicky and pernickety and would like some lighter shades. So I do see that there's a lighter shade in there, and I really, really appreciate it. The swatches look really pretty. They're very tealy toned blue. Now there's part of me that feels that this looks very similar to a 9-pan palette that they came out with about 18 months ago. So for me, this isn't one that I would necessarily get, but I think it's pretty. Do I think that the price of €38.95 is necessarily warranted when we're talking about 5 mattes and 5 foils? Not really, not really. And particularly for me, I'd have to pay that plus like the shipping and the shipping insurance, etc. So I personally wouldn't go for this. As I've said before, I quite like the brand. I wouldn't be an affiliate otherwise. But this one just doesn't entirely speak to me. I think if they'd even just added in 2 extra shades of like, you know, a really shimmery duochrome or something, that would have really elevated it beyond it kind of being a little bit more pedestrian, but it's still pretty. Like I do still quite like it. Then, oh my god, I'm livid about this one. This is About Face, and they've come out with holographic eye paint. So they did like an early stock and then it sold out like that, because of course it did. These are so cute. There's 7 shades and they're all like rainbow shades, and they're $18 each. There's the shade Lucid Dream, Total Eclipse, Luna, Rebirth, Serendipity, Inner World, and Intuition. Let me explain why I am annoyed. It seems that Beauty Bay and Cult Beauty, although they have historically stocked About Face, they don't seem to be stocking any of their new things. So I am worried that maybe they're no longer going to be kind of hosting the brand. So I really hope that the brand goes somewhere else, like Sephora UK or something like that. Now, I like these enough, and I really want to get the foundation that they have, that I would actually go on to the About Face website, as I have done in the past, to try and get stuff, but they don't ship to Ireland. So I'm annoyed about that. However, I don't need these, but they do look absolutely gorgeous. And the fact that she's kept the price down to $18, I don't think that's bad at all. This is very reminiscent of like Juvia's Place prices. That being said, I feel like Juvia's Place probably has some kind of products like this. They look so beautiful, very rainbow-esque. I love the way that these look. How I would wear these is probably like as a liner, like that's what really appeals to me. Oh, so apparently it's going to give you like lots of prismatic waves. It's apparently a formula that glides with lightweight feel. It's vegan, it's cruelty-free, all of those fabulous things. I love the look of it. Really want but apparently can't get my hands on at the moment. Then the very last thing that we're going to talk about is a sneak peek that I showed you guys before. This is the NYX Buttermelt Blush. So at the moment we have seen the inside of one, which is a very hot pink, and the outside of two, which are more pink. So I'm kind of hoping that it isn't just like a bunch of pink blushes, that they may extend upon that. But it does look like they're basically doing the same sort of formula that was in their Buttermelt bronzer. So there's shea butter, mango butter, and almond butter. So very, very interesting. It'll be quite moisturizing, I would imagine. I am for sure intrigued, but the Buttermelt bronzer hasn't even come to Ireland yet. So maybe like in a year I'll get to see it and be like, ah, that's what it looks like. It seems to have been like, I don't know if it was like spotted in the wild or whatever. I think it was over on Trend Mood or something. I am definitely intrigued. I think NYX is up there with e.l.f. in being one of the better, like, affordable makeup brands. So for sure I am intrigued. And it seems a lot of you guys are in the same sort of boat. 47% of you loved it, 33% said not for me, and 21% of you said, I have too many blushes, which I swear to God, that is me. Because I have 3 drawers of blushes. That's not a normal amount of blushes. Like, that's a ridiculous amount of blushes. I don't need more. So I keep reminding myself of this, of like, come on now, Teresa, cop yourself on. So you don't need it. But my gorgeous friends, that's it. That's the end of the video. I know it was a longer one. We had quite a bit to talk through, but I do have my favourite comment now, and it's from the fabulous and beyond 86, who said, I missed you but did catch you on IG. I'm glad you had a relaxing vacation. Good luck with your conference next week. Thank you so much. The conference went really well, actually, so strangely well that one of the people who was at the conference has since approached me to speak at another conference. So I've made more work for myself, but I really enjoy these sort of things. So there you go. I'm a little bit of a nerd, but my gorgeous friends, that is it. That is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Do please like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on that notification bell, and do please share, because sharing is caring, except of course for STDs, in which case just wrap it up. Don't be gross, but that's it. That's the end of this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.